On a stormy afternoon in New York City, Nathaniel Carter, once called the city's coldest billionaire, stood in silence before the towering windows of his penthouse, staring not at the skyline, but at the reflection of a man hollowed out by grief. 5 years ago, a crash stole his wife, Julia, and left their 4-year-old son, Ethan, blind. Since then, Nathaniel poured every cent into Ethan's care, but no amount of wealth could replace the warmth of a mother or the presence of a father who had emotionally disappeared. That day, following another failed appointment with yet another specialist, Nathaniel found himself taking a cab instead of his usual car service. Caught in the downpour, he and Ethan ducked into a forgotten diner on the corner of 62nd. The place was everything Nathaniel's world was not: warm, cluttered, alive. There, they met Ava Moretti, a tired but kind waitress with eyes that had seen too much and still chose to be gentle. She spoke to Ethan as if he weren't broken, describing the food like fairy tales and guiding his hands with patience that no therapist had ever shown. Ethan, for the first time in years, smiled. It rattled Nathaniel more than he cared to admit. Within days, he had her background checked. Ava was a 26-year-old juggling 2 jobs, caring for a sick mother and helping a younger brother through college. Her life was a quiet war against poverty, debt, and the fallout of an abusive ex. On paper, she was a liability. To Nathaniel, she was something else: a chance. He offered her a job. Not as a nanny. As Ethan's companion. Clarice Langford, his elegant, strategic fiancée, was livid. Ava was a threat, not to Ethan but to her position. Despite warnings, Ava accepted the job. But the Sterling Tower was no fairy tale castlight, was a fortress. Staff whispered behind closed doors, Clarice made her feel like a trespasser, and Ethan, in his own palace, was a ghost of a child. Still, Ava didn't walk away. She sat beside him in silence, brought him pine cones, described sunsets, and baked cookies on the floor of the playroom. Slowly, Ethan opened up. Slowly, Nathaniel began to see. He saw Ava as more than an employee. And that terrified him. Clarice noticed the change. She moved from whispers to sabotage. One afternoon, Ava's past came calling. Her ex, Marcus Dean, showed up outside the building, desperate and threatening. She rejected him, but not before someone captured it all on camera. Photos made their way to Nathaniel's desk, accompanied by a missing heirloom brooch and accusations of theft. Julian, his loyal attorney, and Clarice urged him to act. It was a betrayal, they said. A scam. Ava was cornered in Nathaniel's office, humiliated, heartbroken. "You saw me with your son," she whispered. "You really think I'm capable of this?" He said nothing. And that silence was louder than any judgment. She was being escorted out when Ethan, small and fragile, stood in the hallway. "She didn't take the brooch," he said. "Clarice did. I heard her." The boy no one expected to speak the truth shattered the lie with a single sentence. Clarice's mask cracked. Mrs. Davenport, the housekeeper, backed the boy's story. Clarice's betrayal was laid bare. The engagement was over. The power she schemed for vanished. Nathaniel begged Ava to stay not as staff, but as family. And though her pride warred with her heart, she said yes. In the weeks that followed, the tower changed. The cold softened. Ethan thrived. Nathaniel changed. He became a father again. He learned to bake, to laugh, to kneel in the garden and smell mint with his son. He watched Ava not just rebuild Ethan's world but his. And one day, in that rooftop garden that bloomed with life, Nathaniel took her hand. "I thought everything could be bought," he said quietly. "But I couldn't buy what you gave us." Ava smiled. "That's because the best things can't be bought." And in a city built on power, money, and image, a billionaire discovered the most valuable things come wrapped in kindness, not contracts. But not everyone agreed. Some said he was a fool ruled by emotion, blinded by a pretty face. Others said she knew what she was doing from the start. But the boy? The boy smiled. And maybe that was the only truth that ever mattered.